Arsenal were incredible today, and as a rival, it pains me to see how good they are, how free-flowing their football is, how good their midfield was, how they have so many quality players. And while they won't blow away the opposition team every game and not going to outplay everyone they play, they're in a title race. They're 4 points clear of City. City do have the game in hand, but they've now got to win both those games in hand to catch up with Arsenal. Their goal difference is just getting even stronger and uncatchable. So even if City sort of get a draw, Arsenal are clear on goal difference. And City may drop points because City didn't look very good against this Chelsea side at the weekend, although they did have Cole Palmer and Malo Gusto. But Odegaard was out of this world. Ben White was fantastic. Partey, we're going to talk about why they look so much better and what Partey brings. We're going to talk, of course, about a couple other players, Trossard, Kai Havertz, who's proved me wrong and what he did so well today. And we're going to talk about the Arsenal performance in general. Havertz giving that Van Persie-esque goal for his second goal there. Odegaard is passing, Havertz movement, Trossard obviously clinical, as always, what Partey has. But I will say this, Arsenal are 17 points ahead of Spurs and 30 ahead of Chelsea, ahead of their London rivals, and they are the best team in London right now. They are. But one player that I want to start by speaking about is a player that didn't score. And there were so many good performances, but he was standout man of the match. Now, Ben White is up there as a man of the match contender. He was unbelievable, and we will talk about him. But Martin Odegaard, that is probably one of the single, and I'm saying this as a Manchester United fan, but that is probably one of the single best midfield performances I've seen in my lifetime from a Premier League player. Maybe one of the best midfield performances ever where you have not scored a goal. And that came from Martin Odegaard. 1.13 expected assists. That is very, very hard to get. Very, very hard to get. I mean, he probably could have had 4 assists. Arsenal probably should have been 2-0 up in the first half. Second half, they destroyed Chelsea. They could have won that game 7-8-0. Nicholas Jackson probably should have scored, and Madueke did cause some problems. But we'll talk about that later. Odegaard also recorded 8 key passes. Now, something interesting about that statistic is, and this is said by Opta Joe, Martin Odegaard created 8 chances from open play against Chelsea, the most by an Arsenal player in a Premier League game since Mesut Ozil in October 2017, so nearly 7 years. Which is ridiculous. You also look at other metrics, 82 touches. I mean, 2 out of 3 crosses completed, 2 big chances created as well. But I mean, 3 out of 4 dribbles as well, 8 out of 11 ground duels won. I mean, he was absolutely everywhere, you know, on the pitch, off the pitch, his work rate, he was everywhere. He's been very good for Arsenal this season. And when he has a bad game, people hate on him, but you're not going to be unbelievable every game. But the pass he played to Havertz for the 3rd goal was unbelievable. He got 2 unbelievable assists, but he was doing that regularly. And we're going to talk about that. Look at this. Odegaard is here and he plays, like, slices the ball through, and Havertz scores. And we will talk about Havertz and his movement, because one thing I picked out on, I haven't seen a lot of people sort of speaking about this, is I think the coaching staff at half time clearly saw that, you know, Kai Havertz, you know, his movement is his strength, and Chelsea were leaving a bit of space in behind. And Kai Havertz in the second half kept making those diagonal runs between the lines. And Odegaard, whenever he got the ball, looked up to play it into Havertz. And, you know, Odegaard's got the IQ. Odegaard to play that pass. Odegaard's got the technical ability to play that pass, and Odegaard's a very good player. But I noticed that Kai Havertz was making those diagonal runs between the lines. Chelsea defenders didn't know how to defend against it, and it was causing a lot of problems. You even look at the Odegaard assist to Ben White. It was a very, very good assist. But let's talk about the Arsenal performance, because I do want to talk about Ben White. I want to talk about Partey. I think Declan Rice was unbelievable today. But this is the thing. You know, Arsenal fans must feel so good, because Declan Rice was unbelievable today, but there was probably 5 players that had a better game than him, so there's not much point talking about it. You know, if a Man United player put in the performance Declan Rice put in today, I'd be gassing them up. Arsenal fans are blessed. They're blessed. But 3.4 XG, 2.0 expected threat, very, very dominant. But again, this will just show you more about how good Odegaard is. You know, increased or decreased chance of scoring as a passer, Odegaard, 0.78, clear everyone else on the pitch. You look at their progression via passes, Odegaard, just the king of ball carrying. You look at all these statistics there, and it just highlights how good Odegaard was. Obviously, Havertz there as receiver. And what that means is Odegaard was higher as increased or decreased chance of assisting. Havertz was there as the scorer, because Odegaard was just playing in balls to Havertz behind. And one thing about Kai Havertz is, and I wasn't 100% convinced on him, and it didn't start amazing at Arsenal, but his runs in behind, his movement is so clever. And I think the second goal was kind of Robin Van Persie-esque. He's in the right area at the right time. He causes a problem. He crashes it off the bar. But I think what Kai Havertz does is he's a nuisance. He is a box crashing sort of forward. He is a number 9. I don't think he's a midfielder. He's a number 9 because of his movement, his ability to crash the box. He can move to draw defenders out wide, and he draws the markers away from other players and creates space for other players, which means they have an opportunity to shoot, score, pass. But he can make those runs where there's late runs into the box when you've got a player like Odegaard who has the vision and quality to pick that out, which is an asset to Arsenal, and he causes problems. Every big team, Havertz has caused problems. Chelsea, Liverpool, he scored a Champions League final goal. It's 11 goals for Havertz this season. And considering it was a slow start, considering he sometimes plays in midfield, 11 goals is very, very good for Havertz. He's gone from the guy that Chelsea wanted out to King Kai. And honestly, I'm happy for Havertz, even as a rival, because one thing I'll say about him is he got a lot of stick, a lot of hate, but he works his socks off. He works his socks off. Arsenal fans, you are blessed because you have players that give everything, not just players that are good, but give everything, work their socks off. And that is Kai Havertz. Not always gets involved as he should have, but he works so hard for his team. He makes his team better. He does the movement. Arsenal needed that second goal to kill off the game. They're 1-0 up. They should have been 2-0 up, but Nicholas Jackson was a threat. He just can't score. It could have been one of those games where it goes 1-1 and it becomes difficult for Arsenal. Once it's 2-0 up, the game is completely in Arsenal's hands and you obliterate them. But that comes through Kai Havertz's movement and Odegaard's brilliance to pick out that pass. Now, we haven't even spoke about Partey. We haven't even spoke about Ben White. I do want to speak about those players because they had a very good game. I also barely spoke about Odegaard, but I just have to say with Odegaard, he deserved the man of the match award. He was brilliant. His technical ability is brilliant. He's genius. His vision is unbelievable. But I felt that Partey, Rice, Odegaard midfield dynamic worked really well. I think Odegaard, his vision, his passing, his everything was on it today. Could have got 5-6 assists, but even when they were 5-0 up, he was going in on the players behind him about defensive discipline. It just shows his standards, his mentality. He's got that leadership there as well. But I thought that Partey and Declan Rice, them doing the defensive shift, covering the ground, opened up that midfield dynamic to get the best out of Odegaard. I felt that he almost had that license to be further up in the B3, and whenever he got the ball, he looked up to play the ball forward. And a lot of the passes Odegaard played are difficult passes. He played the most progressive passes on the pitch out of any player. But every time he got the ball, he looked to play it forward and he almost executed it accurately every time. I thought Thomas Partey was a game changer for Arsenal. I thought their progression and pace, they were quicker on the ball. They moved the ball quicker. Obviously, Chelsea are a little bit open. Conceded the most goals this season, had key players missing, but I felt the pace in which the Arsenal's midfield moved that, Rice was going further up and they looked a lot better as well. When you've got Rice and Partey winning the ball back, covering ground, progressing play, and Odegaard there picking it up and playing those passes, I thought the progression in the play free via Arsenal's midfield was really good today, and I thought their midfield was looking its best. And I think the thing is with Arsenal, had Thomas Partey and Jurrien Timber stayed fit all season, I think they probably would win the league. Obviously, every other team's had just as massive injury problems as well. So but I think you look at what those players would add, and you look at. I think as much as I don't like Thomas Partey, him, Rice, and of course Odegaard is their best midfield three. I thought Trossard was good. I think Trossard's just clinical. He does the job. I mean, the biggest criticism of Arteta is could he have subbed off the players earlier? I do think Arsenal players are a little bit run into the ground this season. First half, wasn't all amazing, but Arsenal probably deserved to be 2-0 up. They started really well those first 10 minutes as well. They had 13 shots in the first half. They're a little bit wasteful, but I think I would say in the first half, Thomas Partey was growing into the game. Saka had a really good first half. Trossard had a really good first half. Defence, Gabriel Saliba, tidy as always. I'd say safe. But Ben White was an absolute machine today. Ben White was an absolute monster. And he's probably been the best fullback in the league this season. When you're actually deep about it and when you think about Ben White, not just his 2 goals, don't know if he meant his second goal, but his all-round play, he's really developed. Sometimes you see Ben White inverting. Sometimes you see him overlapping. We know that Ben White's obviously very good on the overlap. And he was obviously mostly a centre-back when Arsenal signed him. And now he's sort of turning into this brilliant fullback. But actually, I look at all the right-backs this season because Trent's been injured. Porro's dropped off. Trippier massively dropped off. And Ben White in fact, Ben White does get into team of the season at right-back. But I want to show you Ben White's game numbers because he was brilliant today. And maybe I'll do an analysis on that. But as you can see, 2 goals today from Ben White. Can you see that? I don't know how big that is. Obviously, 1 block shot, 1 tackle, 3 out of 4 ground duels, 1, 3 out of 4 aerial duels, 1. But 79 touches, going forward, 3 key passes. It wasn't just that he scored, but he was creative. He was an outlet. He causes so many problems. And I think the consistency and the growth within Ben White this season has been amazing. And I think Jurrien Timber was probably signed to play right back. I don't know, actually, because then he did play left back in the Community Shield. But I think when you look at Arsenal, you know, Ben White's doing a good job at right back. He's undroppable. Jurrien Timber maybe comes in at left back because there's a few question marks over Zinchenko. And I did do a really in-detailed video on Jurrien Timber this morning, actually. So please do check that out as we're wrapping up the end of this video. But I have to say to Arsenal, they were absolutely dominant. You've got to remember, Chelsea had been on a good run. Obviously, they had a lot of players out, but they've been on a good run. I think they've been unbeaten since Christmas. The last 10 games away, they'd had a really good streak. I think Chelsea, not unbeaten since Christmas, but since Christmas, Chelsea would be fourth in the league. You know, they have been good. They gave Manchester City a difficult game. And we know what Arsenal are capable of. Arsenal won't be able to show that levels week in, week out, every game in the Premier League. Wolves was a bit difficult for them to get it over the line. Of course, they lost to Villa. But Arsenal play like a title-winning side. And if Arsenal win the league, sadly, I can't say they don't deserve it. I think for the most part, we just like that. I think for the most part, Arsenal have been better than City this season, but City have had that individual quality to get them over the line. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.